Welcome back, everybody. It's untapyourgo, and today we are playing Azorius Gideon Control in Historic. So this is a deck built around Gideon of the Trials, and I'm actually revisiting the deck now that we have access to a few new cards. So we have Authority of the Councils. This is a 1 mana enchantment that says whenever a creature comes into play under our opponent's control, it enters tapped and we gain a life. So this is going to slow down a lot of creature heavy decks. It's going to buy us some time to be able to get to our board wipes and clean up the board, and also be able to establish our combo, which is the Solemnity and 9 Lives combo. And for those who are not familiar with the combo, 9 Lives, whenever you are dealt any source of damage, you prevent that damage and you put an incarnation counter on it, and when it has 9 or more, you exile 9 lives, and if 9 lives leaves play, you lose the game. So with Solemnity, this says it can't have any counters placed on it, so any damage that'll be prevented just gets prevented, and then the counters are attempted to be placed on this, but you can't place it on it. So the fact that this has hexproof makes it really hard for our opponent to deal with this permanent. Solemnity, a lot of people have to deal with it, but not a lot of people are playing a lot of main deck enchantment removal. So having this combo in play usually wins you a lot of games, at least that against decks that rely on dealing life total, or like dealing with your life total, because it's virtually impossible for them to get through this without having any main deckable answers. And then Gideon is going to help us buy extra time by giving us the emblem that prevents us from losing the game or our opponents from winning the game. So this slows down any combo deck. Like the Neoform deck can't just beat us out of nowhere. You can't just get overrun by a million Scoot Swarm or something. This just prevents you from losing against so many things. We have all four Fae of Wishes. I've been a big fan of this card a lot lately. I've been building a lot of wish boards because just having the access and versatility to all of this toolboxy stuff is just really good in this format right now, since there's so many decks in the format. It's so wide, and being able to have a silver bullet against the majority of the format is really good. So plus it's a nice decent blocker that trades in the air and chumps very well. And it's good that we have all four copies of this because we are playing Swan Song in the main board and the sideboard, because since our life total isn't really all that serious to us, giving our opponent 2/2 flying birds is almost irrelevant for us. So our Fey Wishes gets to block this all day in the air, and in exchange we get to counter any instant or sorcery that our opponent might have to try to deal with our board state. So that way we can force our permanents through counter spells, and like we can prevent board wipes if we need to, anything like that. And then having access out of the sideboard in best of 3 against control, this is really good because, again, with 9 lives, our life total is irrelevant. Gideon makes our life total irrelevant, and it's just a good counterspell, honestly. It's a really good counterspell. We have 2 opt to be able to find some cards. We have 3 copies of Shimmer, possibility to find some more cards. We're trying to dig because we really need to rely on having these permanents in play. And we're also playing 1 copy of Search for Escanta to be able to scry off the top and impulse when this flips. We are playing 3 copies of Pact and Negation as another counterspell to force everything through. And since we have Gideon with the emblem, we don't have to pay the 5 as long as we have a Gideon in play. We also have 1 more copy of Pact and Negation in the sideboard for the Fae Wishes to grab or to bring in best of 3. We have 2 copies of Glass Casket to deal with our opponent's early game aggression a little bit more. We have 2 copies of Absorb. I didn't want to play too many counterspells. I think Swan Song is probably just the better pick because of how cheap it is, and again, the 2/2 is irrelevant, but Absorb is probably like one of the best hard counter spells. I guess Disallow is probably good too if you have that. Being able to counter activated or triggered abilities is really good, but Absorb is nice because it gains us back some life, which we desperately need. We're playing a mix of board wipes in the main. We have 2 copies of Wrath of God. It's probably just the best board wipe that we have access to. Some of the Wreckage is good. Once you catch your opponent with the first one, they usually attack very scarcely around the second one. So we're only playing 2 in the main board. We are playing 1 in the side if we need to bring it in against like an Ulamog or something, some form of indestructible creature that we can't deal with otherwise. We are playing 2 copies of Shatter the Sky in the sideboard as well. We're playing just a mix of board wipes altogether because, God forbid our opponent has like an Ashiok's Erasure or some like fringe card that prevents us from being able to cast any of this, or like exiles any of our board wipes. We want to be able to have access to multiple different board wipes. In the mana base, it's all over the place. We have a mix of basics. We have Castle Ardenvale for tokens, Castle Fantress for scry, Glacial Fortress, Hallowed Fountain, and Temple of Enlightenment as our dual lands. We're also playing Rogren Triome as a few copies because it's blue-white and it allows us to cycle a little bit. We have 2 copies of Blast Zone to deal with our opponent's permanents, 1 Crawling Barrens as another means to close out the game, and 2 copies of Fabled Passage to tutor up our basics. That is the main board. In the sideboard with all of our fetchable targets, we have Pact and Negation, again, as a counterspell. Swan Song is a more counterspell. Glass Casket against early game aggression. Rest in Peace against graveyard-based strategies. Aether Gust against red or green permanents. Dovin's Veto against, if we need to win like a counterspell war or something. The fourth copy of Nine Lives and Solemnity are in the sideboard, so we can fetch them out with the Fave Wishes, so we can have them on any turn that we need them. We have one copy of we have the one copy of Settle the Wreckage, the two copies of Shatter the Sky, and then two copies of Dream Trawler. This is not a fetchable target with the Fave Wishes, but in best of three, I think this is a pretty good card right now to bring in against like control and stuff. If you can stick it, because your opponent's most likely worried about this mess, but if you can stick a Dream Trawler and force it through with like a Pact Negation or a Swan Song or something, I would imagine your opponent brings out their board wipes for the most part, because we're not playing any creatures outside of the Fave, which is in the main board, and the Gideon is indestructible when it is a creature, so their board wipes are irrelevant outside of like Settle the Wreckage or something. But that's the deck. I hope you enjoy the deck tech and the gameplay. If you do, leave a like down below and comment all that stuff. Let me know how I'm doing. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you're not already subscribed. It means a lot and it supports the channel. Ring the bell for all the good stuff, and let's bring this into the arena and see how we do with Azorius, Gideon Control, and Historic. Okay, our opponent's on the play in game one, but our opening hand is pretty good, so we're going to keep this. We have the Authority on turn one, so if they're playing a creature-heavy deck, we can slow them down a little bit. We have a board wipe, so we know we have the means of clearing the board. The Gideon's good. The Shimmer's going to find us some stuff. Yeah, this hand is solid. Up against blue. I wonder if this is blue, mono blue tempo. I guess we'll see if they play like Spell Pierce or something. Do they? Okay, they don't. So it's probably an Opt or like a Spectral Sailor or something. Okay. This still can be a number of decks, but I always like to try to guess and figure it out. Alright, opponent's obviously holding up some form of counter magic. I could run out the Temple so we have the mana untapped already. I could also try to Shimmer this turn, maybe draw out a counter spell. Also, if all of their creatures have flash, then the Authority gets a little bit worse because they can just bring them in on our turn. So they still get to attack and everything, but it's still going to mitigate some damage, which is more relevant than you think. I guess Glacial Fortress. We're gonna try for the Shimmer possibility. Test the waters a little bit, see if our opponent is running any counter spells, and they are. Lofty Denial. So this is definitely blue tempo. Yep. I mean, that's fine. So from this point on, we don't really have to play any spell right away. So we're gonna we don't need Fable Passage. We're gonna play the Temple, the Scry, get that card off the top. We have the Triumph to draw if we need to. Alright, opponent liked what was on top, so there's a Spectral Sailor. Haha, came in tapped, you fool. Like, imagine if like in the text it said this creature comes in and play tapped. How awful would it be? Pretty bad, right? So Spectral Sailor's equipped it now, or enchanted with this Curious Obsession, so they're gonna be drawing some cards. And they get to hold up their Quench or their Lofty Denial, which now that they control a creature with flying, it's basically gonna hard counter everything we play. So I guess we run out the Temple again. See what's on top. Shimmer's not bad. Shimmer helps us find some stuff. I could try to run out the Solemnity, but there's a good chance it's just going to get counterspelled. Gideon, same thing. They have to be holding up another Lofty Denial, right? I guess we just pass it up. We can cycle the Triumph on the end step. Alright, there's another Spectral Sailor. Still at a pretty healthy 18. Our opponent decides to enchant the same Spectral Sailor. Alright, they go to attacks. And we'll take the 3, or the 4, I mean. So we would be down to like 11 or 10 right now if it weren't for the Authority. So like, it's keeping us up a little bit. And this run's pretty good in multiples. Go ahead and cycle the Triumph on the end step. Draw into our Shimmer possibility. And we found a castle. The castle's not great against their flying, so that's kind of irrelevant. Either of these are virtually the same. The Wrath of God we definitely need to try to resolve, so I think we need to start casting other stuff. Let's start off with Shimmer before we play any land. See what our opponent's playing. They might counter this just because. Alright, there's the Lofty Denial, so our opponent decided to counter it. Which leaves us open. I guess we play Solemnity. Our opponent might still have Spell Pierce or something. That is a possibility. God. Oh man, what a blowout. Alright, so we're drawing out their counter spells though, so we're trying to increase the likelihood of us resolving this Wrath of God. Because if we can just deal with their creatures, then we're in good shape. They're drawing so many cards though. This is a hard matchup for us, I think. Ooh, Pact. Pact is good. Alright, so I can try to play I could try to play the Wrath of God. And then I could force it through with the Pact negation. I'm okay with paying it on the untap. I mean, because they're just gonna flash in something else, but we definitely need to clear the board right now. So let's try it. All right, so our opponent draws. They don't actually have the counterspell in hand, and there's an opt. I wonder if they're also playing Pact. Does Mono Blue Tempo play Pact negation? Let me know down in the comments below. I don't really play this archetype very much. I might actually give this a shot though. Tempest Djinn is good. I could try to counter this. Yeah, I'm gonna counter this. Alright, Brineborn is also a threat, but it's not nearly as big of a deal as the Tempest Djinn. We're gonna autopay. We have a tapped land. I mean, that's unfortunate, but that is what it is. Tempest Djinn would have been a 6/4. And that's a huge threat. That would have closed out the game very fast. The Brineborn needs to grow a little bit, and if we can resolve our Gideon, we can, like, nullify it, I guess. Oh, there's a Fae of Wishes. Alright, so let's try resolving the Gideon. Alright, it sticks. So until our next turn, we'll prevent the damage from the Brineborn cut through. And we will go ahead and Fae of Wishes. We're going to tutor up. I guess we'll grab another board wipe. Settle the Wreckage is good, but they just won't attack into it. Could also grab 9 lives. They counted the Solemnity though. But I could try to start assembling this out of the sideboard. I think we still grab the Shatter the Sky just so we have a means of clearing the board again if we have to. Makes our opponent's Djinns a little bit worse. I mean, I guess they get the draw out of it, but we get to stay alive, so it's a pretty fair exchange. Alright, there's Brazen Borrower. Bouncing the Gideon. I kind of saw that coming, too. On the bright side, we still nullified it. You can flash in the Brazen Borrower, grow this up. That doesn't really do anything. It means we're only taking 2 this turn from the Brazen Borrower unless they enchant it with the Curiosity, and then we get to just Shatter the Sky. Assuming we can afford it. Ooh, Siren Storm Tamer. I don't know why our opponent played that out. That's a good draw for us. Ensures that we get we get this shatter through. Let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, it doesn't do anything. I guess our opponent played the Storm Tamer thinking that it can counter the Shatter the Sky. And yeah, that's cool. They get a draw out of it. But we're going to go ahead and flash in our Gideon, or play our Gideon. Spell Pierce A. We'll go ahead and Pact Negation that. Now our opponent has to have another counterspell. Nice. Sick. I'm okay with losing that exchange because we just drew out a bunch of cards out of their. You should have flashed in the Brian Borden Cutthroat first. He could have flashed that in and then won that counterspell war and just grew his dude a bunch. All right, so we can play the 9 lives. Let's hope it can stick. We could pay the mana through Lofty Denial and everything else in between. So he has to have like a hard counterspell, which he does not. Player Fave Wishes. And now we're in good shape. Our opponent can't interact with the 9 lives. But we just need to not take 9 points of damage and die before we find our Solemnity. And our opponent is playing main board Brazen Borrowers, so like they definitely have a means of I mean, I could just try to get him with his Crawling Barrens. But yeah, our opponent does have a means of interacting with our Solemnity, but not the 9 lives. Yeah, let's turn this into a creature. Actually, let's not turn this into a creature. It doesn't matter. Now that I think about it, because I was going to try to attack. We don't have the extra mana to double pump it. The Brineborn Cutthroat will just trade. Alright, so we'll go ahead and keep growing up the Crawling Barrens. This time decline. Another 9 lives is good, I guess. It's not relevant. We can hold it up so we can discard Defeo Wishes. Alright, so let's start trying to get in for some damage. Take that action. Go to combat. Right, opponent decides to take the 6. We'll pass it up. It's been a pretty good game so far. We fought through a lot of counterspells. The main deck Pact and Negations have been really helpful. So we have Castle Vantress. Yeah, it kind of sucks though because if we had 9 mana in play, we can attack with the Crawling Barrens this turn and bounce the Fey of Wishes, but we can't. So I can play the Castle Vantress this turn and then discard next. Yeah, let's do that because then I can Castle Vantress on the end step too, probably. I really want to. Nah, I think we just get in for 8. If our opponent doesn't block, then we can pump it up again too. Yep. So now we can just pass it up and we'll put the mana into the Crawling Barrens on the end step. Opponent scoops it up. Good game. Good game, opponent. Alright, going into game 2, and we are on the play. 3 9 lives, I think is a little excessive, but we're taking it. We're probably not playing any of these right away, depending on what we're up against. Alright, opponent decides to keep after a mulligan. Hello, opponent. I guess it really doesn't matter what we play. We could just play out this Glacial Fortress first. We want to get the Absorb mana down, so we need another blue source for that. Swamp. Turn 1 Thoughtseize. You never see that. Ah! Damn. Alright, so take your pick from 9 lives or Absorb. Yep. That is the obvious go-to. We will play the one that they didn't see. That was obviously a oof. And for some reason, this one didn't get the view thing on it. Oh, no. So our opponent has counter magic. Boo. Boo. Alright, so let's try to resolve 9 lives. We have 3 copies. Our opponent shocked in for nothing. I'm not sure what they were trying to counterspell there. Unless it was a bluff. Yeah, let's try Solemnity. See if it resolves. Okay, so I guess we just auto-win unless they deal with the Solemnity. So this is like Sultai control, I would imagine. Sultai ramp, maybe. So they could be playing like Gem Razor. They could be playing a main deck Wilt or something. Elvish Reclaimer. There's a few options. Thrashing Brontodon. Yeah, there's a bunch. Hydroid Krasis. Sick. Sick. Alright. Nice. That was awesome. I love watching that just die. It's so good. It's so good. I'll go ahead and get the emblem too. Murderous Riders, definitely a thing. Oh, they don't have the double black. Ah, now they do. Okay. There's also like E2 Extinction they could be playing. Ooh, Nissa. Damn. So they get to kill the Gideon with the token. That sucks. Ooh, lands can't have counters placed on them. Ooh, buddy. See, like, Solemnity is just good. It's just good. It does so many things. And now I get to, like, beat down on this Nissa, too. This is great. Alright, so let's do that first, actually. Go ahead and beat down on your Nissa. The Hydro Krasis come in as nothing, so it doesn't matter. Play that tapped. We'll go ahead and Fey now. Guess we'll grab the Pact of Negation. We already have the emblem, so now we just have a hard counterspell against whatever. Yep. Opponent gets a Growth Spiral. Alright, opponent pluses up. Passes. Sick. Alright, so let's try to kill this Nissa really fast and see if we get away with it. I could pact that. Though, to be honest, I don't really care. Yeah, alright, cool. Waste your Ether Ghost. He's trying to draw out the Pact of Negation. Like, alright, dude, put your Nissa back on top. You can't do anything with it anyway. Good game. Okay, opponent is on the play in game 3, and our opening hand is okay. We get to lead off with the Temple, Scry, find our 4th land. We have Swan Song mana if we need to. Search for Scanto will help us find some more cards. And a Wrath of God and Gideon's going to help us clear the way. Let's get it. Alright, up against blue again. Must be a popular archetype right now. Yep, Glacial Fortress on top. Yeah, I know. I mean, I know it's a popular format right now. It's definitely one of the better decks in the format. What? Okay, Sparring Construct. It's not something you see usually. Opponent has... Ah, boo. 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 Shame on me. I can actually counter their enchantment spells, like the curiosities and stuff, too. Alright, so let's play the search. Cool. That's pretty good. That's why they played the curiosity, I suppose. Put that in our graveyard. We don't want that. Shimmer's good. And our opponent is tapped out. So let's just go ahead and Wrath of God. We don't need that either. Play this here land. Start off with Shimmer Possibility. Test the waters. Opponent is not playing any counters. I think we take the Pact of Negation. Go ahead and play our Gideon, which we know will resolve. Get the emblem and pass it up. We'll upgrade that. Drew another land. That's cool. I could start beating down with the Gideon. Yeah, I guess we just do that. Pass it up. I don't think we even need 9 lives right now. Like, we don't even need to try to resolve it. We'll just go ahead and counter that. Don't think we need that either. We will decline the transformation. As long as we control a Gideon. So we're just going to decline. Keep beating down. Pretty much got this now, because now we can start making castle tokens as well. I actually kind of want to scry though. Shimmer's cool. Keep that on the library, decline again. Yeah, let's grab the opt. Nope, don't need another 9 lives. That's pretty good. We'll play that instead. Let's get down to 9 lives now. Opponent's being a really good sport about it. I mean, hitting that Wrath of God when I did definitely slowed them down. And we still have 1 mana open for our Swan Song, so we can counter any instant sorcery or enchantment spell that they might be playing. Alright, Siren Storm Tamer for our opponent. Curious Obsession, I might as well try to counter it. Opponent's probably like, who plays Swan Song? I mean, he can sack the Storm Tamer to counter it. Alright, put that in the graveyard. We'll go ahead and transform this now. Let's find this Solemnity. This is not Solemnity. Sure, I'll take it. Let's play the Authority. Yeah. Let's start attacking with the Gideon. See if our opponent feels like chumping. Nope. Down to 4. We'll just pass it up. They can deal essentially 2 points of damage for the 9 lives. So we're in good, yeah, good game, opponent. Welcome back, everybody. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, as always. And today we went 3-0 in a nice little quick undefeated best of 3 with Gideon, Azorius Gideon control, and the deck is a lot of fun. When I was building this deck and testing, it had a lot of struggles and hardships, but I just made a few more adjustments and stuff before hitting the record button, And Wrath of God, Settle the Wreckage, and the main board have really been helpful. Shimmer, I was originally playing like a copy of Anticipate as well, and more copies of Opt and everything, but I just trimmed down on the numbers a little bit and try to make it a little bit more streamlined and more focused on just these 3 cards mostly. And the Fae of Wishes, being able to find anything needed out of the sideboard was pretty cool. Definitely give this deck a shot. It's a lot of fun, and Authority of the Councils definitely gives this deck a much better chance. Like, it was already a decent deck before Kaladesh Remastered hit the format. Gideon has been around since Amonkhet Remastered, and if you're familiar, like the card is really fun. It's good to play with. 9 Lives of Solemnity has already been a combo that's been in existence for a bit, but Authority of the Councils really helps slow down your opponent against a really creature-heavy matchups. If you're playing against mono red a lot, or like, you know, it slows down the Neoform deck that can't win on the turn that they combo, so like it buys you time to Wrath and everything. So like this card has been really good. Fae of Wishes has been really good. Solemnities is really good on its own. Shutting down the Nissa activation on the lands, that's amazing. Like, this card is just awkwardly good in a lot of other ways other than just for the combo purpose. But anyway, I'll leave a link down below. Check it out. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend playing it. Check it out in the arena. Leave a like on today's video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below if you have any suggestions. Hit the subscribe bell if you're a viewer and not currently a subscriber, and hit the bell for notifications so you can stay up to date with all the videos to come. And that is it for today. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.